Hey, if you're in love with the idea of toned arms and the strength to hold your own, this is for you. I'm gonna show you my 3-day routine. So say Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. These 3 unique exercise routines that I do actually each feature 3 unique phases. Pay attention. This is how I rotate my arm exercises. I'm gonna show you biceps and triceps and how you can get more toned, more sculpted arms in less time by just being extremely efficient.
This first one is called sevens, first with biceps. 7 times you're going to go from your legs to halfway, 90 degrees. That's it. Now this goes quickly. It's a short lever. You don't want to be swinging. Notice your palms are up. You can also do this with palms in or that neutral grip, sometimes called hammer. Next 7 goes from that midpoint to all the way up. We've broken it down so that we're really isolating a very small part of the muscle. Elbows have to stay in at your sides though, so keep them really still, hugged against your body, and then the last set is all the way up and down. And careful, so you want to be very cautious about swinging. And I am standing, you could be seated. Seated will be easier to control. So I am standing. Notice the movement. I'm fighting it. With your triceps, back of your upper arm, you're going to do the same thing. Now I'm seated here because it makes it easier not to arch the back. Splitting the range of motion from top to just 90 degrees, a little bit less than that. If in overhead press, if it's not possible for you to keep your elbows and your upper arm close to your head, what I'd like you to do is to choose another exercise, but there are many that you could choose from. Now, second 7, I'm going my full range of motion down, which may not look like I'm going all the way down, but it's as far as I can go comfortably, to halfway up, so not all the way full extension. And then for your last 7, you will go all the way down and up. Still a fairly small range of motion because it's a fairly small lever. Just be sure you're in control. I am seated again to emphasize less movement. This set of exercises is called trisetting. So there are 3 parts to this. First, the biceps. So we curl them up, full range of motion. Now this is a pretty comfortable weight for me. So it starts with 10, lifting up and down. Elbows stay close. I'm in a standing position. If you're just beginning, worried about moving, shaking, you can sit down, no problem. Second exercise, long lever. The biceps also attach at your shoulders. So you go from your hip to shoulder height. Now I don't have a mirror, I'm not using one, so I'm going slightly above that. You definitely don't want to go any higher. Keep in mind we will be combining this with another movement for the very last set. Here we go, in and out. So now I'm lifting that long lever, adding the curl with the elbows staying in place. So there is some lifting movement, then there's stabilization at the elbow as we flex. So lots of things going on, and movement plus stabilization makes it much more difficult. So this last set, you'll see a few eye rolls here because it gets challenging, and this is really not a heavy weight for me to do bicep curls, but it's the cumulative effect of we do all 30 of these repetitions in order that matters. This is your tricep for the triceps muscles. So I am leaning forward. Again, you could be seated here, or you can be standing as I am. So know yourself, know your ability to control many things. So bent knees, arch in the back here. Elbows stay still. My palms are in, and notice this neutral grip when you're holding dumbbells is going to be a little more comfortable. Same here, second exercise, from low to a lift. Long lever moving from the shoulder because the triceps also cross the shoulder as well as the elbow. So you will probably feel this one just a little bit more because most of us think elbow flexion and extension, but miss this one. Now again, you can guess it's a combination coming up that we finish with. Here it is. Long, hold the elbow, flex, extend, and lower. And when I say hold the elbow, we are flexing and moving from it, but we're holding it in midair. So lift, flex, and extend. Get that extension. If you find, notice I'm using a very, very light weight. Often we get over ambitious here. And the problem is we're choosing something so heavy that we can't get full extension. Remember here, when you really want to get the tone, extension is your friend. Be sure you've got full range of motion. Super important for the benefit. And it gets sticky at the end. The last of these 3 sets I do each week is called 6, 12, 25. You do 1 set, really heavy weight. Notice I'm holding 2 because at home, that's what I need to do to make sure I can fatigue at 6 repetitions with these bicep curls. I don't like these, right? You can tell. So I just want to do 6 and I want to be glad to be done. That will ensure you're actually doing what it is you need to do. We have to reach muscle fatigue in those 6. But you're going to put it down. There's not rest between. So now I need to wait. I'll fatigue at 12. So I lightened the load a little bit. But realize this, if you have reached fatigue at a set, you're going immediately again. Your fatigue will happen even though you picked up a lighter weight. It's going to happen a little sooner. So again, be sure you're not swinging. All the things apply to every position. Elbows stay in close to you so there's no swinging momentum. And you are truly isolating that muscle. Good. A little eye roll there. It's getting sticky, and that's what I call I'm definitely feeling it, right? So you want to be feeling this each set. Sometimes the problem with getting arm tone is we just are not working hard enough. Putting them down, you're picking up a weight now that you'll do 25 times, but after 2 sets of fatigue. So these look teeny tiny, but you notice I'm going to reach fatigue at the end. So we're about 4 repetitions in. Elbows still have to stay close. And although it looks like this is a fairly quick pace, I'm not going super slow. This is about the cumulative effect. I absolutely don't want to be swinging, but you don't see any momentum going through the rest of my body. You don't want to. And I am controlling it on the way up and on the way down. So I'm lowering it. That eccentric contraction, by the way, is really important. If you have a weight that you have to swing, it's a little too heavy. And you aren't getting the muscle tone that you think you are. You want that muscle in charge every time, and you have to watch out for the dog sometimes, right? Slowly keep the elbows in. Remind yourself to hug. Keep the shoulders down and away from your ears. Relax that tension. And on to the triceps. Now again, I love the overhead press. Some of you I know do not or feel like you don't have the range of motion. So again, you can do a kickback. You can do a cable push down. But we are right now choosing a weight that you can fatigue in 6 repetitions. So you're going slowly, full range of motion. And if you choose to do your triceps second, that muscle group will probably fatigue. Even though it's a different muscle group, it's very localized to the upper body and the arm. You'll fatigue a little sooner. This is your weight for 12 repetitions. So I'm going a little bit lighter. I lightened it by 5 pounds. I want you to focus on the movement and making sure that your elbow to shoulder is vertical here if you're doing an overhead push. And if you're doing something else, say you're doing a push down on a cable at your gym, elbows still against your sides. We want those elbows to be holding still, and that is part of the key of isolating them. And you're engaging your core generally a little bit more to do that as well. 12, and now remember we're going for 25 repetitions. So it's got to be heavy enough, light enough. There's a little dance here. But if you've truly fatigued in your 6 and in your 12 repetition set, these are consecutive, by the way. There is no rest. This is more or less like what we often call a monster set. So it's like 30 repetitions, 10 of each, directly in a row, following each other. So again, here I'm facing forward to let you see elbows are in close next to my head. And because we're up and overhead with movement, whenever that's true, sitting down is often better for most of us, not just for a beginner. But once you stand, you're in more control, or need to be, of what happens not only at the arms, the moving part, but at your torso, at your hips, your lower back, and that is often tapped into knees. Many of us will tend to lock our knees. That goes pressure to the lower back, all bad things, not good things. So seated with great form is far more effective than standing. So I just want you to realize that. If you can do it, if you know your limit and you're able to, I do sometimes stand overhead, but I prefer to do that in a gym where I've got a full-length mirror and I'm absolutely keeping myself honest and know it. And there we have it, all done.
So the most important thing is not just that you're getting the exercise, but you're getting the exercise with really good form. So when I turned towards you, remember the key thing is when your arms are up and overhead, you drop those shoulders down and the elbows stay inside. So you're here. If you can't do that one, I want you to come down to something else you can. So some people will tell me they can do a kickback and they feel far better than coming up and overhead. And it's probably shoulder mobility that's the limiter. Perfectly fine. Or if you're at a gym and you have access to a cable machine, so you pin it up here, you're holding onto a bar or a rope and you're pushing down here, you can also do it there. You could also choose to do one exercise one way, second exercise a different way, the third exercise a totally different way. You have endless and infinite variables that you can change up. But the key is on the 6 repetitions, reach fatigue. On the 12, reach fatigue. And on the 25, reach fatigue. And if you're doing the other one, the sets of 10 or 8, make sure you reach fatigue or get close to it by the second and the third. On the first, if you've got the same weight, you may not reach fatigue. On the 7s, the first set's gonna seem easy, but it's okay. You don't have to reach fatigue on it because you're just beginning. On that second set, it may not feel quite as easy, and on that third set, you should get to fatigue and think, I can't believe that weight did that. So great form is really important. That means sometimes also sit down as opposed to stand. When you stand, you have more joints that you're in charge of. You've got to bend your knees. You got to make sure you're engaged here. And if you are busy as a beginner, you're just focusing on a muscle group, that may be the better thing for you to do is sit, stay stable. Here's my recommendation about machines versus free weights though. When it comes to arms, I would never, ever suggest that you get on a machine and do a bicep curl on a machine or a tricep press. Using a cable machine, yes, but a machine is based on an average size. Now, you and I can sit down on a leg press, chest press, or row, and we can adjust it pretty well. But when it comes to isolating a joint and the distance between your elbow and shoulder and the way a machine is going to fit, the variables are not really very good for anybody because none of us is the average that it was built for. So I would suggest stay off of machines when it comes to arm exercises, even shoulder exercises, and stick with your dumbbells because you can control the safety on those far better. Do you have questions? And here's what I'd love to know. Try this for a month. Try it for a month. 1, 2, and 3. Day 1, day 2, and day 3 of your weight workouts. And look, if you're just doing total body twice a week, we're an advocate for that, by the way. You can still slip in a weight workout between as long as you've had at least 48 hours Say Monday and Friday, do your heavy total body. On Wednesday, hit those arms again, and let me see your biceps at the end of the month. I'll see you on the flip side.